2, 1. Welcome.
Hi guys, I'm back with another video. So sorry it took me forever, but I'm just going to be talking with you guys this whole time. And here's my sketchbook. So look at little Bruna looking at this room. I had struggles like just trying to figure out what to do because I just felt like I couldn't figure out what her space looked like. So I had the character all done, but it's like, okay, so now the space. And I struggle real bad with perspective, y'all. This was a struggle. Look, I put on this video on YouTube, and I'm gonna put the information on the description below. And it gave me like a whole like 1-point perspective breakdown, and basically it looked like this room. So that's what I was trying to do. I was just trying to figure out what I can do to just make this make sense. So I think it turned out pretty all right. Okay. And then I tried to do another attempt without the audio from the video, and also just adding a little of my own zhish in there. Now I'm back with like Bruna. I'm trying to figure out the perspectives of sitting. And I love Tame Impala, so I was like, okay, like a girl's room, like what is she gonna have? Posters, she loves music. And I was kind of just trying to figure out what the scenes in the comic were gonna look like. So again, another 1-point perspective, her on her phone in her bed, because her phone is her op and just a distraction. That is, you already know, Diet Pepsi, Addison Rae, and the Smiths over there in that corner. Again, I am just drawing her in different perspectives in her room. Look, y'all, I struggle. Look at her head, it's so tiny. But hey, I'm out here showing y'all the real ugly stuff out here. And yeah, I guess I put some notes in my brain, or written down there, about being intimate in her space. And I'm just trying to get to see like if she was going to be walking. I was still figuring out what the heck she was going to be doing. So I was like, okay, she's going to be practicing guitar, obviously. That is my little tripod that I use practicing drawing. And so I was just on Pinterest looking at a bunch of guitars and just drawing guitars over and over again until I got a little more comfortable drawing guitars. So yeah, that's what all this page is about. And then boom, I've started my first page of the comic for my final. And I ended up using this as my first page, as it says on the top, page 1. Got the little guitar, got the back of her head. You know, we know what she's looking at and we know what she's here to do. So second page, again, approaching even closer. And I was trying to figure out what would she be, like performer, vocals or something. And then I finally got her sitting in her bed looking right. Then over here, I had one page kind of filled out, but as you can see, I put the numbers on different parts because I was like, okay, there's a way to retell the story, but I don't want to redraw everything. Then boom, this is my favorite page. I love her like frustrated reaction, just like, oh, just overwhelmed, because I am definitely there. Madre on the phone. I didn't end up using this exactly that was just like an alternative. This was the cover of the first volume. This is what I ended up using instead. Her looking at the Marias. I had redo that using actual images from the Marias. Then there's a part where I draw where she's sleeping, and this is just her imagination of what it's going to be like when she's singing and stuff. I'm still figuring out bodies, guys. So this made it to the final. You know, just drawing her having a good time. Boom, she gets inspired and she breaks her freaking guitar. So yeah, not great on her part. Don't mind the cats with faces, but that was the page, that was the alternative page instead, that I used, that led her into like drowning to sleep and, you know, going about this. So yeah, I'm just showing you guys a little bit of stuff that I've been working on for June, and ever since I've like stopped school and I was kind of like overwhelmed and in my head about things, but here I am, I'm back at it again, drawing. I'm trying to figure out how to do better with my figure drawing. Then I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I could just like continue the story and just like leap out ideas, since it was just so fresh in my mind. With her mom and her facial expressions. I really love making facial expressions on characters. It is a passion of mine. So yeah, I was trying to come up with an idea for my capstone. Still going off, but that's where I left off with this. So yes, a page full of bunnies. It was like an idea for my capstone, so I was just looking at different bunnies. I've never drawn bunnies before, so I was just practicing hatching and whatnot. Then I was working on a story for the main lead. She has to do something with the bunnies, and that was just like my idea of like what she would look like. Boom, Feluna Salazar. So I hope like you guys get like the little bit that she is, you know, kind of witchy. Feluna Teehee. So I was storyboarding a little bit what she was gonna do with the bunny and follow the bunny into the rabbit hole, kind of like an Alice in Wonderland reference. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pause here because it feels like that story is gonna dwindle up to too much. So boom, this is actually my capstone story. It's about a young boy named Steven, and I started out by doing his like bedroom and figuring out what that looks like. What does his space looks like? Because he's just gonna be at home. So a lot of the characters, it's about like building friendships and making friends and how to understand and make friends. And since first half of the story where we really get to know him, he's gonna be in his room, I really wanted to like give a space, give a layout, and design that. He is a kid that's into like horror, so in the final I will be judging it up with more horrific paraphernalia, but I wanted to, you know, get to know his character more. I struggle with drawing the same character over and over again, but that is the key, Steven. Like, that is what Steven is going to be looking like, that first face right there. Everything else is just me trying to redraw it over and over and over again. Yeah, these outfits did not pass. I was trying to do different perspectives, different facials and stuff, but it's a little challenging, but you know, you can't do any better unless you are practicing, okay? So here I am, just practicing more facial expressions and trying to redraw his face more. And I've decided to start the storyboard concept. So you see that little girl hanging around, creepy facing, that's like his little imaginary ghost friend. That girl with room 237 is going to be his new friend. And it's just about like moving on and making connections with real people, and instead of, you know, people that just don't exist. So yeah, okay, so that was a storyboard. That's Susie the ghost, and I decided to like lay away from a bit of the drawings and just have fun in my sketchbook again and just draw, trying to do better with my figure drawing clothes, since that's what I'll be focusing on. And yeah, I did not practice that part right there, so I apologize. That other things, all this other stuff is from this book that I have, like What Great Paintings Say. So I was just redrawing some of the greats and stuff and practicing some hatching there with the angel. I love the motif of like angels and wings. I love anything with like angels and wings, like I tend to buy them. So I looked up pieces with angels and wings and has struggled, y'all. Listen, this was with ink, okay, not even pencil. I was just laying it down there, okay? Then I went back to Bruna and I was like, you know what? I really want to tell her story. Like, let me just draw her a little bit, see her facial expressions, and, you know, just have fun with her. I missed her so much. Okay, guys, here is my final for my narrative illustration class. This is the front cover. And yes, this is the story. I hope you guys enjoy it.